The girl came to rent a room and said, "Maybe you're a good landlord." I asked, "Will you come back?" The hum of the life support systems was the only sound in the quiet room. From here, he could see the pale blue of a distant planet, tiny against the endless dark. He had lived on this station for years, alone most of the time, and he liked it that way. Most travelers pass through quickly. Merchants, explorers, or the occasional diplomat, rarely human. The station was small but tidy, with only a few rooms for rent, each kept clean and functional. He had learned long ago that keeping the station in order was more than a task. It was a way to stay sane among the emptiness of space. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Elias glanced up, expecting another alien trader. Instead, he saw a girl standing in the doorway. She was young, maybe in her early 20s, with short, dark hair that framed her face. Her eyes were sharp and intelligent, and the faint curve of a smile tugged at her lips. She carried only a small bag, yet she moved as if she had traveled far. "Hello," she said softly. Her voice was steady, calm, and curious. Elias stood and nodded. "Hello, looking for a room?" "Yes," she said, glancing around the small reception area. "I hope it's available." He gestured toward the corridor. "I have one left, not fancy but clean." She followed him down the hallway, her steps quiet on the metal floor. Elias noticed she looked around with interest, not like a tourist, but like someone observing and remembering every detail. The room was small but well kept. A bed, a desk, a small shelf, and a window looking out into the stars. She set her bag down and sat on the edge of the bed. "It's nice," she said simply. Then, after a pause, she added, "Maybe you're a good landlord." Elias froze. He had heard compliments before, but there was something in the way she said it, calm, honest, not exaggerated, that caught him off guard. He cleared his throat. "Thank you," he said. He didn't often get compliments. He didn't know how to respond to them either. She looked at him, her eyes curious. "Do you ever get visitors like me?" "Not often," he said. "Most don't stay long, or they're not human." She nodded slowly as if she understood. Then she smiled faintly. "I'll try to stay for a while." Elias shrugged, trying not to show how much her words had affected him. "We don't have many comforts here, but if you need anything, just ask." For a moment, silence hung between them. Elias returned to his desk to finish some paperwork, glancing occasionally at her as she unpacked her few belongings. There was something unusual about her, something he couldn't place. Humans were rare in this part of space, and most of the ones who came here were ordinary, cautious travelers. But she seemed different. That night, as the station spun quietly in orbit, Elias couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about her words, "Maybe you're a good landlord." It was strange how such a small statement could feel so meaningful. For years, he had lived quietly, focusing on keeping the station running. No one had ever noticed him, not really. Yet here was someone who had. The next morning, the girl was already awake. She was standing by the window, looking out at the stars. Elias poured himself a cup of coffee and joined her. "Beautiful, isn't it?" he said, trying to start a conversation. She turned to him, her eyes bright. "It is. But it's also lonely. Don't you ever feel lonely up here?" He looked at her, considering his answer. "Sometimes, but I'm used to it. The stars are quiet company." She nodded. "I think I understand." Over the next few days, they fell into a quiet routine. She explored the station, asking questions about how things worked. Elias answered patiently, showing her the systems, explaining the subtle adjustments that kept the station functioning. She listened attentively, clearly absorbing everything. Elias began to notice small things. She had knowledge of technologies that he hadn't expected. She could read alien language symbols with ease, and she seemed to understand the logic behind complex systems instinctively. It was impressive, but it also made him uneasy. He had no idea what she was doing here or why she had come to this remote station. One evening, while they were sharing a simple dinner in the small communal area, she spoke quietly. "You've built something important here, Not just the station, this place. You care for it. You care for people even if they don't know you're here. Elias looked down at his plate. It's just a job, someone has to keep the place running. No, she said, her voice soft but firm. It's more than that. You care about more than the station. That's rare. Humans like you are rare. Her words struck him deeply. He didn't know what to say. For a long time he had been alone, overlooked, considered insignificant in a galaxy dominated by alien civilizations. Yet here was someone who recognized his value without hesitation. A few nights later, a minor emergency jolted the station awake. A small meteor shower had damaged part of the outer hull. Alarms blared as pressure sensors detected a slow leak. Elias rushed to the control room, Lyra following closely behind. "Can you help?" he asked, already knowing she might be able to. She didn't hesitate. Together they worked quickly, sealing the breach with makeshift tools and rerouting power to stabilize the systems. Her calm efficiency impressed him, and he realized she was more than a casual traveler. She was capable, fearless, and remarkably clever. Once the situation was under control, Elias leaned against the wall, catching his breath. She stood nearby, calm as if nothing had happened. "You handle things well," she said quietly. "Most people would panic." He shrugged, trying not to smile. "I've had practice." She looked at him then, her expression serious but gentle. "I think you're the kind of person who stays calm because you care. About people. About things that matter. That's why you survive out here." Elias felt a warmth in his chest. It was strange, the way her words affected him. He had spent years in silence, but she spoke as if she could see him clearly, not just the station or the routines. That night as he prepared for bed, he paused at her door. "Will you come back?" he asked softly. She looked up at him, a faint smile on her lips. "Maybe," she said. Then she turned back to the window, gazing at the stars. Elias didn't know what to make of it. She had said so little, yet somehow, her presence had already changed the station. The quiet halls felt less lonely, the hum of machinery less empty. For the first time in years, he slept easily, knowing that someone was here, watching the stars with him, noticing the small, important things. The days that followed were simple but full of quiet discovery. Lyra learned the names of the station systems, helped Elias with minor repairs, and shared stories of human colonies in distant sectors. She spoke of humans not as fragile or limited, but as capable, clever, and resilient, a perspective he found comforting and inspiring. Elias, in turn, began to feel more alive. The small gestures she made, a smile, a comment about a repaired system, a shared meal, reminded him of what it meant to be seen and appreciated. One afternoon, as the station orbited past a glowing nebula, Lyra came to him with a question. "Do you ever wonder why humans are so rare out here?" He thought for a moment. "I guess we spread ourselves thin. We survive because we adapt, but that also makes us isolated." She nodded, a thoughtful expression crossing her face. "Maybe that's why I came here. To find humans who adapt, who survive, who still care." Elias felt a mixture of pride and worry. Pride that she had found him, but worry about what she might be searching for. He didn't know if she would stay or if she had a purpose beyond this station. Yet in the quiet moments as they worked side by side, he realized something important. Humans might be rare, but when they were together, even briefly, they were unstoppable in subtle ways. Clever, patient, and resilient, they could make a difference even at the edge of space. And so, as the station drifted silently through the void, Elias waited. For now he had a guest, a companion of sorts, and perhaps the beginning of something greater, something human. He didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in years, he felt ready to face it. And somewhere, deep in his heart, he hoped she would come back. The morning sun of a distant star cast a pale glow through the station's window, illuminating the small room where Lyra had been sleeping. Elias stirred, hearing the familiar quiet hum of the life support systems. The station was calm, but he noticed something had changed overnight. The girl, Lyra, had settled in more naturally now. Her presence felt less like a visitor and more like someone who belonged. He poured himself a cup of coffee and leaned against the counter, thinking about the previous night's conversation. Humans, rare as they were in this part of space, carried a weight of adaptability and subtle strength. Lyra, he realized, was no ordinary traveler. Something in her calm, deliberate movements, in the way she noticed small details about the station, hinted at experience and purpose far beyond a simple visit. "Morning," she said, appearing in the doorway. Her hair was slightly messy and a faint shadow of tiredness lay under her eyes, but her posture was straight, confident. "Morning," Elias replied. "Sleep well," she nodded. "Better than I expected. The station, it's peaceful." Elias offered her a small smile. "It's quiet." "That's true, not many humans come this far." She tilted her head, studying him. "I'm not like most humans, am I?" He chuckled softly. "I've only seen a few like you. Most are cautious, trying not to draw attention. You seem curious and capable." Her smile was brief but meaningful. "I have to be. Out here, being careless can get you killed." The words sent a chill through him. He had lived alone on the station for years, careful to avoid attention, but hearing her say it made him realize how fragile human life was at the edges of the galaxy. Yet he also sensed that she thrived on that fragility. It gave her focus, sharpened her mind. The day passed with small routines. Elias repaired minor malfunctions, cleaned the communal areas, and checked life support systems. Lyra observed, asking questions about the station's energy grids, oxygen circulation, and communications arrays. Each time she seemed to absorb information effortlessly, memorizing details that even Elias sometimes overlooked. By mid-afternoon, Elias decided to test her knowledge. "These systems are old," he said, pointing to the main control panel. "Aliens don't maintain their tech this well. Most assume human systems are simple and fragile." Lyra studied the panel. "Old doesn't mean weak," she said softly. "I can see the redundancies you've built. Backup circuits, emergency power flow, clever design. If someone wanted to sabotage this station, it would take more than force." Elias blinked. He had heard compliments before, but her words were different. They carried understanding, not flattery. "You know about sabotage?" he asked, curious and cautious. "I know enough to notice it," she replied. "And I've seen systems like this before, some abandoned, some in use. Humans are underestimated. That's their advantage." The statement hung in the air. Elias had always believed it, but hearing it from her, a fellow human, made it real. Humans might be scattered and rare, but when they acted, they could surprise anyone. Even the most advanced alien civilizations often assumed humans were weak. They were wrong. Their quiet afternoon was interrupted by a warning signal. The station's external sensors had picked up an unknown object approaching fast. Elias frowned and moved to the control panel, his mind racing. "Lyra, stay back," he said. "This could be anything." But she moved beside him, calm and alert. "Let me see," she said, studying the readings. "It's not a ship I recognize. It's alien but modified. Could be a patrol unit or a scout drone." Elias nodded, impressed by her quick assessment. Together, they monitored the object as it drew closer. The ship maintained a cautious distance, scanning the station. Elias felt the familiar weight of tension that always came with unexpected visitors. Most alien ships simply passed by, uninterested in humans. But this one lingered. Hours passed with no direct action from the alien ship, only observation. Lyra helped Elias adjust sensor arrays, creating subtle blind spots to mask the station's internal movements. She explained her reasoning quietly, showing him tactics he hadn't considered, using the station's geometry, shadows, and power fluctuations to make the station appear smaller and less significant. By evening, the alien ship departed, leaving only a faint trace on the sensors. Elias exhaled heavily. "That was close," he admitted. I've never seen one linger like that before. Lyra studied the empty space outside. They are testing boundaries, she said. They want to know if humans still occupy the edges. If they find someone capable, they might return with more force. Elias felt a chill. Humans were rare here. Their presence was fragile. And now, with her words, he realized that Lyra had not come to the station for leisure. She had a purpose. That night, while the station's lights dimmed and the hum of machinery provided a lull, Lyra shared a fragment of her story. "I traveled to find humans who can help," she said, her voice almost a whisper. "Humans who are willing to protect what we've built, even when it's small and isolated. I've seen too many colonies fall because they were unprepared or underestimated." Elias listened carefully. Her words were deliberate. She was recruiting, testing, observing. And somehow she had chosen him. "You think I can help?" he asked, surprised. "I don't know yet," she admitted. "But I need to see how you handle pressure, how you respond to threats. Humans like you, clever, adaptable, moral, are rare. If you pass, you become part of something larger." Elias considered her words. Part of him wanted to reject the idea. He had lived quietly, avoided involvement, and survived. But another part, the part that had been touched by her presence, her recognition, felt a spark of purpose he hadn't felt in years. Over the next few days, Lyra continued to test him in small ways. She introduced minor system malfunctions, not dangerous, but enough to observe his responses. Elias responded with calm precision, improvising repairs, finding solutions she hadn't anticipated, and maintaining the station's stability. One evening, as they worked side by side repairing a damaged communications array, Elias asked cautiously, "Why me? Why this station?" Lyra paused. "Because you notice things others overlook. You care, and you survive. That's what humans do best. You adapt, think, and act when others might freeze. I need people like you to protect what humans still hold in the galaxy." Her words resonated. Humans were scattered, underestimated, but powerful in subtle ways: ingenuity, persistence, adaptability. She believed in the potential of ordinary humans to achieve extraordinary things, and somehow, Elias had been chosen to prove it. A week passed, and the quiet routine of the station remained, but the tension never fully left. Unknown to them, small alien reconnaissance drones occasionally passed near the station, scanning for signs of human activity. Lyra noticed them quickly and taught Elias how to detect subtle anomalies in sensor readings, patterns no alien would expect him to notice. One afternoon, they repaired the main airlock together. Lyra's hands moved confidently, precise and careful. Elias watched her, feeling a sense of pride and trust. "You've done this before," he said softly. "I've done many things," she replied, "but not here, not with you." Her words carried a quiet weight: trust, partnership, connection. Elias realized that she wasn't just testing him, she was beginning to rely on him. That evening, as they sat together in the small communal area, the station bathed in the soft glow of distant stars, Elias felt the full impact of her presence. Humans were rare here, yes, but when they found each other, they were remarkable. Clever, capable, and morally strong. Lyra looked at him and said, "One day, humans will return to places they lost long ago. We'll rebuild, protect, and expand, not by fighting blindly, but by using what makes us human. Cleverness, endurance, and heart. That's our real power." Elias nodded, understanding more than he could express. The station was small, isolated, but it was a start. Humans had the potential to survive, even thrive, in a galaxy that often underestimated them, and he had a role to play. That night he stood at the window, looking out into the infinite darkness. The station hummed softly around him. He thought of Lyra, her purpose, and the subtle ways she had already changed his life. Humans were rare here, but they were not powerless. And he, Elias, had finally found a reason to believe that even a small, quiet station could matter. Somewhere in the galaxy, humans like them were scattered, waiting, surviving, and adapting. and together, even briefly, they could make a difference. As he returned to his quarters, he paused by Lyra's door. "Will you come back?" he asked again, softly, almost a whisper. She looked at him from the shadows of her room and smiled faintly. "I might," she said, "but for now we survive, we learn. And when the time is right, humans will rise again." Elias felt a sense of calm and determination he hadn't known in years. The station, small and isolated, had become a center of human resilience. And he, once a lonely landlord, had become part of something greater, something quiet, subtle, and extraordinary. The stars outside seemed brighter that night, as if reflecting the promise of a future that was still uncertain, but full of potential. And for the first time, Elias understood that sometimes survival was not just about living, it was about preparing, building, and believing. Humans were rare, yes, but they were remarkable. And together, even in small ways, they could shape the galaxy. The station was quieter than usual, or at least it seemed so. Elias moved through the corridors, checking the control panels, the air filters, and the small solar arrays that kept the station powered. The hum of life support systems was steady, comforting, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. Something was coming. Lyra sat at the small table in the communal area, studying a star map projected from the station's sensors. Lines of light traced paths through the galaxy, showing ships, patrol routes, and other stations. Her fingers moved quickly over the display, adjusting symbols, highlighting paths, and marking zones. Elias watched her work silently, impressed by her skill. "You're very precise," he said finally. "I don't think I've ever seen anyone handle these readings like you do." She didn't look up. "Precision matters when dealing with threats. If we make a mistake, we could lose everything here." Elias felt a chill. Her words were calm, but their meaning was heavy. Humans were rare out here, scattered across the stars, and most alien civilizations assumed they were insignificant. But those civilizations could be dangerous when they noticed humans who still survived. "I noticed something unusual yesterday," Lyra continued, her tone quiet but firm. "A patrol ship passed close to the station. It wasn't just scanning, it was searching. And it wasn't alone. There are more ships in the area, likely tracking human activity." Elias felt a surge of tension. He had lived in isolation for years, avoiding attention. But now even this small station, carefully hidden on the edge of human space, had attracted notice. "What do we do?" he asked. Lyra finally looked at him. Her eyes were steady, confident. "We prepare. We observe, we defend if necessary, and we make sure the station is ready. If they come closer, we need to be ready to protect ourselves and each other." Elias nodded. He had spent years maintaining the station, but he had never thought of it as a fortress. Now it had to be. Over the next few hours, they worked together to reinforce the station's defenses. Lyra taught Elias subtle methods to detect alien patrols before they were visible on sensors, using minor fluctuations in energy readings and movement patterns. She explained how to reroute power, create false signals, and obscure the station's internal activity. "Aliens are clever," she said, "but they expect predictability. Humans are unpredictable. That's our advantage. We survive because we think differently." Elias considered her words. Humans had always been underestimated, scattered across the galaxy and often dismissed by alien civilizations. Yet in moments like this, their adaptability, ingenuity, and resilience became powerful tools. Hours passed. The station's sensors picked up distant blips, small, quick-moving objects that could have been asteroids or drones. Lyra analyzed them carefully. "Scout drones," she said finally. "They're checking for life signatures. If they find humans, they'll report back. We need to act before that happens." Elias felt a surge of determination. "We'll make sure they don't." The first real threat arrived just before dusk. A small alien ship appeared in the distance, moving carefully, scanning the station. Elias and Lyra watched as it adjusted its path, clearly aware of their presence. They know we're here, Lyra said quietly, and they're deciding if they want to act. Elia's mind raced. The ship was faster and better armed than anything he could directly challenge. But he remembered Lyra's words. Humans survive not by matching strength, but by using cleverness, unpredictability, and teamwork. Together, they devised a plan. Elias rerouted the station's external sensors to create false signals, making it appear as if the station was smaller than it was. Lyra adjusted the communication arrays to send minor bursts of energy in irregular patterns, confusing the ship's scanning systems. Most aliens assume linear thinking, she explained. They follow predictable patterns. We make them doubt their assumptions. The alien ship lingered for hours, scanning, adjusting, observing. Then it moved closer, probing with small energy pulses that tested the station's shields. Elias and Lyra responded immediately, using minor adjustments to redirect power, strengthen weak points, and create safe zones. Every action was subtle, precise, and human. Finally, the alien ship moved back, retreating to a safe distance. But Elias knew this was only the beginning. If they had been discovered, it was likely only a matter of time before stronger forces arrived. That wasn't a warning, Lyra said, her voice calm but firm. It was reconnaissance. They're coming back with more. Elias felt a mix of fear and determination. He had spent years avoiding attention, but now he understood that survival required action. Humans, scattered and underestimated, could survive if they used their strengths wisely. And he was ready to do whatever it took to protect the station, and the girl who had arrived unexpectedly, changing his life. Over the next few days, they worked tirelessly. Elias repaired minor systems, reinforced shields, and optimized power distribution. Lyra analyzed star maps, monitoring potential alien patrol routes, and taught him subtle tricks to anticipate movements, predict responses, and create distractions. One evening, as they sat together reviewing sensor data, Elias asked quietly, "Why me? Why this station?" Lyra looked at him, her eyes steady. "Because you're human, and you notice things others overlook. You care about what matters. That's why humans survive. They adapt, improvise, and act with purpose. You're rare, Elias. That's why I came here." Her words resonated deeply. He had lived quietly, unnoticed, but now he realized that even a small station could matter if humans used their minds, ingenuity, and moral strength. The tension escalated a week later. Sensors picked up multiple alien ships approaching in formation. Elias and Lyra moved quickly, preparing the station. She explained a human tactic she had learned from other colonies: misdirection. They created small energy bursts in different sections of the station, adjusted shields in unpredictable ways, and prepared small traps using minor but clever engineering. When the alien ships arrived, expecting a simple, defenseless station, they were met with unexpected resistance. Energy pulses bounced unpredictably off the station's shields, communication arrays sent false signals, and minor sabotage devices disrupted the aliens' scanning equipment. Elias watched in awe as Lyra directed the operation. "Humans survive by thinking, not by fighting blindly," she said calmly. "Remember that. They underestimate us because they assume weakness. We will not give them that advantage." The alien ships, confused by the station's unpredictability, retreated after several hours. Elias and Lyra monitored their movements carefully, noting that they would return, likely with stronger forces. That night, the station was quiet but tense. Elias and Lyra sat together in the communal area, reviewing sensor logs. "We've survived today," Elias said quietly. "But they'll be back," Lyra nodded. "They always come back, but humans are clever. We survive because we adapt. That's our strength, and we'll be ready." Elias felt a sense of pride and purpose he hadn't experienced in years. Humans, scattered and underestimated, could survive, even thrive, if they used their minds, ingenuity, and courage. And here on this small, isolated station, They were doing exactly that. Over the following days, the alien threat loomed like a shadow. Elias and Lyra continued their preparations, strengthening the station's systems, creating hidden redundancies, and testing subtle defenses. Every day, they learned more about each other, their abilities, and the quiet power of human ingenuity. Lyra taught him strategies humans had used for centuries, improvising with what they had, observing patterns, exploiting assumptions, and creating solutions that no alien would predict. Elias realized that humans' greatest strength was their mind, the ability to think, adapt, and act with purpose even in the face of overwhelming odds. One evening, as they observed the stars together, Elias finally spoke. "I understand now," he said quietly. "Humans survive not because we're strong or fast, but because we think, we adapt, we notice what others miss, and sometimes that's enough." Lyra smiled, her expression calm but proud. "Exactly, and that's why I came here, to find humans like you. To prove that even when we're rare, we're powerful. Even when we're scattered, we endure." The tension in the station did not fade. Alien patrols continued, occasionally sending small probes or scanning bursts, testing the station's defenses. But Elias and Lyra together anticipated every move, adapting quickly and efficiently. Every threat became a lesson, every challenge an opportunity to demonstrate the subtle power of humans. As the stars twinkled outside the window, Elias understood something profound. The station, small and quiet, was more than a shelter. It was a symbol that humans, even rare and scattered, could survive, adapt, and stand firm against forces that underestimated them. And in the quiet moments when the alarms were silent and the station hummed softly, Elias felt hope. Humans were rare, yes, but they were clever, resilient, and capable of extraordinary things. Together, even in small, isolated ways, they could face the galaxy with courage, intelligence, and heart. That night he asked again, softly, almost to himself, "Will you come back?" Lyra's voice answered from the shadowed corner of the room. "I might, but for now we survive. And when the time is right, humans will rise again." Elias nodded. The stars outside seemed to shine a little brighter, reflecting the promise of human ingenuity, courage, and hope. The threat had emerged, yes, but humans, even small, quiet humans, would endure. And they would endure together. The hum of the station was steady, but tension had reached a new height. Elias moved through the corridors with purpose, checking panels, inspecting the power conduits, and making sure every backup system was ready. Lyra was at the main control console, reviewing sensor data and mapping the approach of alien ships that had returned in greater numbers. "They're coordinating now," she said calmly. "They've learned from the last encounter. This time, they'll attempt a direct approach. We need to be ready." Elias tightened his jaw. He had been through simulations and minor threats, but this was real. Alien ships, faster, more numerous, better armed, were moving in formation toward the station. Their sensors detected the station, and there would be no chance for misdirection alone to protect it. Lyra turned to him. "Humans are unpredictable. They assume they understand strategy, but they don't. That's our advantage. We'll survive because we think differently." "Are you ready?" Elias nodded. "I'm ready." For hours they prepared. Lyra taught Elias how to reroute energy in unexpected ways, creating decoy power signals and shifting shields to confuse targeting systems. They reinforced key sections of the station, using every bit of spare material they could find. Small corridors became choke points, with automated barriers that could redirect intruders. "It's not just defense," Lyra explained. "It's distraction, improvisation, and using the station itself as a weapon without firing a shot will make them hesitate." Elias felt a surge of pride and determination. The station had been his quiet home for years, and now it would become a fortress through human ingenuity. As night fell on the distant star system, the alien ships arrived. Their approach was swift and precise, scanning the station for weaknesses. Sensors detected multiple small attacks planned simultaneously, testing shields and searching for entry points. Elias and Lyra responded with calm efficiency. "Divert power to the main shields," Lyra instructed. "Then, in 5 seconds, flip the auxiliary shields to create a false vulnerability. They'll hesitate, trying to exploit it." Elias followed her instructions. The alien ships fired, energy pulses striking the station, but nothing hit true weakness. The ships adjusted their approach, misled by the shifting defenses. "It's working," Elias said quietly, watching as the ships paused, uncertain. Lyra's fingers flew over the console. "Now we exploit it. Redirect power to the automated corridors. When they attempt entry, the station will guide them into zones they can't navigate easily." The alien ships seemed powerful, but Elias noticed something. Their tactics were predictable, fast, aggressive, but assuming humans would react linearly. They did not anticipate improvisation, and humans, as Lyra had said, were masters of unpredictability. The first ship tried to breach the outer hull, targeting a weak point it had calculated from previous scans. But Elias had rerouted power just in time, reinforcing the shield and sending a small energy pulse that temporarily blinded the ship's targeting systems. The ship had to retreat and reassess. "Good work," Lyra said. "They expect weakness. We give them none." Hours passed in a tense rhythm. Every time an alien ship adjusted, Elias and Lyra countered. Energy pulses, shield diversions, sensor manipulations. Each small action created confusion and delay. The aliens, assuming superiority, did not expect the human mind to adapt so quickly. At one point, an alien boarding pod approached. Sensors showed it moving toward one of the station's corridors. Elias glanced at Lyra, who nodded. "Use the corridor traps," she said. "Guide them where we want." Elias activated the automated barriers. The boarding pod, following what it assumed was a clear path, was guided into a narrow section with reinforced walls. Its systems overloaded and it became immobilized. "Humans survive because we think differently," Lyra reminded him. "Remember that. Every small advantage counts." Despite the tension, Elias felt a sense of calm. The alien ships were stronger, yes, but humans had something they did not: ingenuity, unpredictability, and teamwork. Every action he took, every adjustment he made with Lyra, was a demonstration of human resilience. The alien ships regrouped and tried a direct assault on the station's core. Energy pulses struck the hull, shaking the walls. Lights flickered and alarms blared. Elias worked quickly, adjusting power reroutes, stabilizing energy grids, and reinforcing shield nodes. Lyra monitored the attack patterns, giving instructions that allowed them to counter each strike without panic. "They're aggressive," Elias said, wiping sweat from his brow. "They want to overwhelm us." "They underestimate us," Lyra replied calmly. "They think humans can be crushed by force alone. We're showing them the truth." The battle raged through the night. Every strike from the alien ships was met with clever counters, every advance disrupted by human improvisation. Elias realized that strength was not just measured in firepower. It was measured in adaptability, observation, and calm under pressure. By dawn, the alien ships began to withdraw. Their attacks had failed to breach the station's defenses, and their own systems were strained from the constant need to adjust to unexpected tactics. Elias and Lyra had held their ground. "They'll return," Lyra said, watching the last ship disappear into the distance. "But for now, we've won this round." Elias exhaled, a mixture of relief and pride. The station was battered but intact. They had survived because they had thought differently, acted cleverly, and worked together. Over the next few hours, they repaired minor damage, checked life support systems, and reassured each other that everything was functioning correctly. The station's small corridors, once quiet and predictable, had become a maze of clever defenses. Human ingenuity had turned a fragile station into a stronghold. "That was incredible," Elias said finally. "I've never seen anything like it." Lyra smiled faintly. "Humans survive because we are clever, we adapt, we improvise, and when we work together we are unpredictable. That's why we endure." Elias nodded. He understood now what she meant. Humans were underestimated not because they lacked strength, but because their greatest weapon was their mind. Cleverness, patience, and moral strength could outmatch brute force. As they sat together, overlooking the stars, Elias realized something profound. The station, small and quiet, had become a testament to human resilience. Even in the face of superior forces, humans could prevail. "I still don't know where this is going," Elias said softly, "but I feel ready." Lyra looked at him. "Humans are always ready when we need to be. And now you've proven you can survive, think, and act under pressure. That matters more than you know." Elias felt a warmth in his chest. For years he had lived quietly, unnoticed, a simple landlord maintaining a small station at the edge of space. Now he was part of something greater, a living proof that humans, rare and underestimated, could survive and even triumph against odds that seemed impossible. The station was calm once more, though the threat of the alien ships remained. Elias and Lyra knew it was only a matter of time before they returned. But for now, the victory was theirs. Humans had shown that ingenuity, teamwork, and adaptability could overcome even the strongest force. That night, as they shared a simple meal in the communal area, Elias asked once more quietly, "Will you come back?" Lyra looked at him, her expression soft but serious. "I don't know yet, but wherever I go, humans will endure. And if our paths cross again, we will face whatever comes together." Elias nodded, feeling a sense of hope and purpose he hadn't known in years. Humans, scattered and underestimated, could survive and thrive. And here, in this small, isolated station, they had proven it. Outside, the stars shone with a quiet brilliance. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers and uncertainties, but humans, clever, resilient, and moral, would endure. And sometimes, even the smallest actions, the cleverest ideas, and the calmest minds could change the course of events in ways that no alien could anticipate. Elias and Lyra looked out at the stars together, the hum of the station, a comforting reminder of life and resilience. Humans might be rare, but they were remarkable, and even in the face of overwhelming odds they could survive and even triumph through ingenuity, courage, and heart. The night was long, the station quiet, but hope burned bright. And somewhere deep inside, Elias knew that humans were just beginning to show what they could do. The station was calm, almost peaceful. The alien ships had withdrawn, and the immediate threat had passed. Elias moved through the corridors, checking systems, and ensuring that all damage had been repaired. He had worked tirelessly alongside Lyra, but now there was a different feeling in the air, a sense of quiet satisfaction mixed with unease. The galaxy was unpredictable, and while the immediate danger was over, more challenges would surely come. Lyra was at the main console, reviewing sensor data and star maps. Her expression was calm, but her eyes were focused, alert. She noticed every detail, every slight movement of energy, every fluctuation in distant ships. Elias watched her for a moment. Even after days of preparation, threat, and battle, she remained composed, analyzing everything, ready for anything. "You've done well," he said softly, approaching her. "I don't know if I could have managed without you." She looked at him, a faint smile appearing. "Humans manage when we must, that's our nature. You've done more than I expected. You've learned quickly, adapted, and remained calm under pressure. That's why humans survive." Elias nodded, feeling pride and relief. Humans were underestimated, rare, and scattered, but their true strength lay in their adaptability, intelligence, and moral courage. In the past few days, they had proven it again, turning a small, isolated station into a stronghold that no alien force could easily break. "You're leaving soon, aren't you?" he asked quietly, almost afraid to hear the answer. Lyra's smile faded slightly. Yes. My mission continues. There are other humans out there scattered across the galaxy. Some need guidance, some need help. I can't stay here forever, no matter how safe or comfortable it is. Elias felt a pang of sadness. Her presence had changed his life in ways he hadn't expected. For years, he had lived quietly, maintaining his small station, seeing few humans and rarely feeling the connection of someone who truly understood him. Lyra had brought a sense of purpose, partnership, and hope that he hadn't realized he was missing. I understand, he said finally. But will you come back? Lyra paused, looking out of the window at the stars. She was quiet for a long moment, as if weighing her words carefully. I don't know, I can't promise, but I can promise that wherever I go, humans will endure, and if our paths cross again, we will face whatever comes together. Elias nodded. Her words were not a guarantee, but they carried weight. Humans, clever and adaptable, could survive even in isolation. And she had shown him that survival wasn't just about avoiding danger. It was about preparation, ingenuity, and courage. The following days were spent in a mixture of preparation and reflection. Lyra helped Elias make long-term adjustments to the station's systems. Together, they reinforced shields, optimized energy distribution, and created subtle redundancies that would protect the station even if he had to defend it alone in the future. You've taught me a lot, Elias admitted one evening as they worked on the main power relay. Not just about strategy or defense, but about humans, our strengths, and what we can do when we work together. Lyra smiled faintly. That's why I came. Humans survive not just because we are clever, but because we notice, adapt, and care. Your small station, your quiet routines, they matter. Every human effort matters. Elias felt a warmth in his chest. For years, he had believed his life was insignificant in the vast galaxy. But now, with Lyra's guidance and perspective, he realized that even small acts of preparation, intelligence, and care could make a difference. Humans were not weak, they were underestimated. And underestimated humans had a way of surviving and thriving against all odds. Finally, the day came for her departure. The station's small shuttle was ready, refueled, and stocked for the long journey ahead. Lyra packed her belongings into a single bag, her movements efficient and deliberate. Elias watched silently, unsure how to express the mixture of pride, sadness, and hope he felt. You're ready, she said quietly, noticing his hesitation. The station is strong. You're stronger than you realize, and humans endure. Remember that. Elias nodded, swallowing hard. I'll keep it safe, I'll keep learning, and I hope you come back. Lyra smiled faintly. Maybe I will, she said softly. Or maybe you'll find other humans like me, scattered across the stars, working in your own way. The important thing is that we survive and endure. That's what matters most. The shuttle's engines hummed, ready for launch. Elias followed her to the small airlock. They paused at the threshold, a moment of quiet connection amid the hum of machinery and the distant stars. Goodbye, Elias, Lyra said softly. Remember, humans survive because we adapt, and we endure because we care. Goodbye, Lyra, Elias replied, his voice steady despite the emotions swirling inside him. Safe travels, and thank you for everything. The airlock sealed behind her and the shuttle glided into space. Elias watched as it disappeared into the darkness, a small dot moving among the stars. The station felt quieter without her presence, but not empty. He knew she had left a lasting mark on him, on the station, and on the subtle proof of human resilience they had demonstrated together. For the next few hours, Elias moved through the station, checking systems, reviewing repairs, and making minor adjustments. Every corner of the station now carried the memory of their teamwork, their clever defenses, and their shared purpose. Humans had survived an overwhelming threat, using intelligence, adaptability, and moral strength, and he had been part of it. That evening he sat by the window looking out at the stars. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers and unknowns. Alien patrols still existed and humans were scattered, rare, and underestimated. Yet he felt a deep sense of hope. Humans endured because they adapted. They thrived because they thought differently, observed closely, and acted with care and purpose. Elias thought of Lyra, out there somewhere in the galaxy, continuing her mission to find other humans and prepare them for challenges yet unseen. He knew that she would succeed because humans were remarkable, resilient, and clever beyond measure. And he knew that someday paths might cross again. He smiled faintly. The station hummed softly, lights glowing warmly in the quiet corridors. Humans were rare, yes, but they were extraordinary. And even a small, quiet station on the edge of space could become a symbol of survival, ingenuity, and hope. The days passed, and life returned to a calm routine. Elias maintained the station carefully, mindful of every system, every sensor, every minor detail. Yet he no longer felt isolated. Lyra had reminded him of the true power of humans, the ability to endure, adapt, and act with intelligence and courage. One evening, as he watched the stars slowly move across the vast expanse, he reflected on the past weeks. Humans had survived an overwhelming threat, not by brute force, but through cleverness, preparation, and collaboration. And the quiet station, once a solitary home, had become a testament to human strength. Elias realized that humans were underestimated not because they were weak, but because their greatest power lay in subtlety, observation, and adaptability. He had been reminded of that truth in a way he would never forget. And somewhere far across the galaxy, Lyra continued her mission. She would find other humans, help them prepare, and inspire them to survive and endure. They were rare, yes, but they were powerful. And the galaxy would someday remember what humans could do when they worked together, thought creatively, and acted with purpose. Elias leaned back, the hum of the station surrounding him. The future was uncertain, full of dangers yet unseen, but humans would endure. They had survived before, they would survive again, and they would thrive, through intelligence, ingenuity, and heart. He whispered quietly to himself, a hope more than a question, "Will you come back?" And somewhere among the stars he believed she might. For now, the station remained a quiet sanctuary, a testament to human perseverance and ingenuity. And Elias, once a solitary landlord, had become part of a story much larger than himself. A story of survival, hope, and the extraordinary resilience of humans in a vast, unpredictable galaxy. The stars outside twinkled, reflecting the promise of a future that was still uncertain but bright. And in the quiet hum of the station, Elias knew that humans, rare as they were, could endure anything. And one day, maybe, paths would cross again.